March 23, 2017, Chihuahua, Mexico. A woman named Miroslava Breach is driving home from work. She is a correspondent for La Jornada, one of Mexico's largest national newspapers. She has spent the last several months naming cartel-linked candidates running for public office, publishing documents, identifying names, connecting money to power. She has been warned. Her editors have offered to reassign her. She refused. At 8:45 in the morning, a man approaches her car and fires 8 rounds through the driver's side window. She dies at the scene. Her son is in the passenger seat. He is unharmed. On a cardboard sign left near her body, the killers write a message, "For being a loudmouth." Politicians spend millions controlling the narrative. Breach spent 20 years tearing it apart, from a state where the people she exposed could read the morning paper, find their own names, and decide what to do about her before lunch. Mexico is the most dangerous country in the world for journalists. Not the most dangerous authoritarian state, not the most dangerous country with an active civil war, the most dangerous country, period. Since 2000, over 160 journalists have been killed. The data is not hidden. Journalists who cover organized crime in Mexico die at a rate that exceeds reporters working in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The difference is that Mexico is not officially at war. The government maintains a democratic framework. Elections happen, courts function, newspapers publish, and reporters are executed in their cars on the way to the office. Fewer than 10% of journalist killings in Mexico result in a conviction. The federal agency created to investigate these crimes is underfunded, understaffed, and structurally incapable of pursuing cases where local police chiefs are already on the cartel's payroll. Because that is the architecture of the problem. The cartel does not need to silence the federal government. It needs to own the local cop who files the initial report. And in most municipalities, it already does. Breach was not the first journalist killed for covering cartel-linked politics. She was among the most prominent. Her reporting was specific. Names, documents, transaction histories, meeting minutes. She did not write opinion pieces. She published records, difficult to dismiss because they were built on evidence rather than speculation. The cartel's response was not a legal challenge. It was a cardboard sign and a gun. If you want to survive writing about the Sinaloa Cartel, you do it from New York or London. Javier Valdez did it from Culiacan, the cartel's operational capital. He walked the same streets as the sicarios he described. He ate at the same restaurants. He bought groceries in the same markets for over 20 years. Valdez founded Rio Doce, a weekly newspaper that covered organized crime, corruption, and daily life in Sinaloa, with a combination of investigative reporting and literary journalism. He published 7 books. His writing did not anonymize sources or obscure locations. He described the mechanics of cartel life in granular, human detail, the sicarios, the families, the economics, the fear. He wrote about the people who lived inside the system, not from the outside looking in. His prose had the specificity of someone who understood his subjects because he shared their geography. That kind of specificity tends to be respected by readers and resented by subjects. 53 days after Breach was executed, Valdez was dragged from his car near the Rio Doce offices in broad daylight. 12 rounds. His laptop and notebooks were taken. The murder was witnessed by multiple people. No one intervened. A low-level cartel operative was eventually arrested. The person who ordered the killing was never charged. Mr. Grimm stopped reading at that sentence. There is nothing after it that matters. Valdez had been offered asylum. He had been offered relocation. International press freedom organizations had flagged his case years before his death. He declined to leave. In interviews, he explained his reasoning with a logic that was either courage or fatalism or both. If he left Sinaloa, he could not write about Sinaloa. And if he could not write about Sinaloa, the only people telling the story would be the cartel's own propagandists. Fair point. Terrible math. Anabel Hernández did not die. That is the first notable fact about her career. She has spent over 2 decades investigating the relationship between Mexico's cartels and the federal government. Her book, Los Señores del Narco, published in 2010, documented direct links between the Sinaloa Cartel and Mexico's highest-ranking law enforcement officials, including Genaro Garcia Luna, who was convicted in a New York courtroom in 2024 for taking cartel money. She published the evidence 15 years before the conviction. Hernandez has survived multiple assassination attempts. Her father was kidnapped and actually believes was connected to her reporting. She lived under protection from the Mexican government, then fled Mexico when she concluded the government could not or would not protect her. She currently lives in an undisclosed location in Europe and continues to publish. Her most recent investigations focus on the same networks she identified in 2010. The networks have changed personnel. They have not changed structure. It is perfectly clear why journalists die in Mexico. Over 160 dead, fewer than 10% solved. Federal protection mechanisms described as dysfunctional by every international press organization that has evaluated them. Salaries that average between $400 and $800 per month for regional reporters, less than a cartel sicario earns. The rational decision, by every measurable metric, is to stop. They do not stop. Rio Doce still publishes. Breach's colleagues at La Jornada still file stories from Chihuahua. Hernández still writes from exile. New journalists enter the profession knowing the statistics. The answer, based on every interview Valdez gave before his death, every essay Breach published, every book Hernández has written, is not heroism. It is something quieter. It is the understanding that if the people with the information stop talking, the only version of reality that remains is the one the cartel writes. And that version does not include a section where they are the villains. Valdez said it once in an interview. He said he was afraid every day. And he said the alternative, silence, was worse than the fear. He did not explain further. He did not need to. The killers left a cardboard sign that said, "For being a loudmouth." It was crude. It was misspelled. It was also the only honest review Breach ever received from the people she wrote about. The predators Breach and Valdez wrote about follow patterns: territorial expansion, economic control, targeted elimination. But those patterns are not unique to organized crime. There is another kind of predator, one that hunts alone, follows the exact same psychological sequence every single time, and leaves a signature that connects every case in history. The pattern has a name. The people who carry it do not think they have one.